April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we're shining a spotlight on the work of Kindred Hearts, an organization dedicated to supporting children and building safer, healthier homes. And they're preparing for the It's All Relative Social and Emotional Intelligence Summit coming up Saturday, April 11th. That will bring advocates, professionals, and community members together who share one mission, and that is to prevent child abuse. And I'm so grateful to have Dr. Kimberly Janha via telephone today. And if you don't mind, could you first start with the heart behind Kindred Hearts and what inspired the mission to support children and families?
Sure thing. Thank you, Koko, for having me today. Kindred Hearts is my favorite topic nowadays. We are a nonprofit organization that is established to serve kinship caregivers, and that's the grandparents, aunts, uncles, other family members who are raising their kids' children. It could be for whatever reason. It could be a DSS placement for child abuse or neglect. It could be, like in my case, my nieces and nephews' mom got killed in a car accident in 2003. They were 7, 6, 5, 4, and 3 months. And now they are 30 and on down to the last one that's 23, who is, they all have their own children. But at the time of their death, their maternal grandmother stepped in. We're from Marlborough County, and we both reside here in the Columbia area now. And so when she said that she was going to take care of those children, no questions asked, because she wanted them to stay together, then we all jumped in, our family, being on the children's paternal side, we stepped in and we said, we're going to do this thing together. So we know what support is. We know what it means to understand and to be able to have access to resources so that, in our case, we could thrive, so the children in our care could thrive. And that's the mission of Kindred Hearts. We want to make sure that anyone who takes on the responsibility of raising their kids' children have access to community resources. And we know we can't do that without the community.
Paint a picture for me, if you would, and for our audience. What could have happened to those children had the family not stepped in?
Oh, my goodness. Anything really could have happened to those children. More specifically, if we wouldn't have stepped in, then perhaps the Department of Social Services would have stepped in, because there's no custodial parent. And at that time, the biological fathers of the older 4 children weren't as active as we would have liked them to be. And so if we wouldn't have stepped in, that grandmother, to keep them together, they would have been from pillar to post, as we like to say, or they could have been in the DSS system, if you will. And so by us coming together to support that maternal grandmother, and I often speak her name, is Gilia Robinson Bazemore. She made sure that those children were together so we could support them together. So they could have been in a place separated. It could have been in a place where that was totally unfamiliar to them, around no family. And so we salute kinship caregivers who step up, and whatever the case. And everything, I like to emphasize, every kinship caregivers or every kinship care environment is not one that was produced by negativity, right? Like abuse and neglect. But we do find that the challenges are the same, that there is a dynamics change or a relationship change, if you will, from children calling their grandparents or their aunts, by that biological connection, auntie or grandma or grandpa, to changing that dynamics because those persons are now becoming parents. And so if they're bio parents that are still alive and not as involved as they need to be, there's often that tug between that child having to choose whether they call grandma mama or whether they call mama, or whether they call grandpa dad, or whether they call their bio dad. And so we work with those families whenever they find themselves with those challenges. And what we do are support groups. So they are in familiar spaces with like-minded, like-serving persons. So other kinship caregivers are in those co-created spaces where they talk about the benefits and the challenges of being kinship caregivers.
Wonderful. And we're going to talk about the summit coming up. But for listeners who may not be familiar, as it pertains to Kindred Hearts, can you explain the purpose of Child Abuse Prevention Month and why this awareness is so critical.
Sure thing. So usually with when children are brought into the eye, if you will, of the Department of Social Services for an alleged child abuse or neglect case, the South Carolina Department of Social Services has deemed themselves to be a kin first agency. And what that means is before they put them in an unfamiliar placement such as a registered foster home, that they will seek out families. And so before this became a common practice for DSS, more recently within the last 5 or 6 years, this has always been an alternative placement for decades that our Department of Social Services, and usually without support from any financial support from the Department of Social Services. And so when we hear about child abuse and neglect and the act of preventing that, we believe that having awareness for all adults in our community, that will help us lead to the demise, if you will, of child abuse and neglect. So in connection with Kindred Hearts, if we can prevent child abuse and neglect, we can give some grandparents their retirement era back. You know, we can give some young kids who are trying to develop themselves their ability to grow as young adults in lieu of raising their younger kins. Now, what we can't predict and what we can't help and many times can't stop is death. And so in those cases where kinship care is the reason for that and not child abuse and neglect, then we know that support in any reason, any foundational reason for kinship caregivers to step in is much necessary for us to raise awareness around child abuse and neglect. It allows us to connect more with the community and learn more about kinship caregivers in our state.
It's All Relative, Social, and Emotional Intelligence Summit. That's coming up Saturday, April 11th at Midlands Tech Airport campus. Now, what exactly inspired this event, and what do you hope it will accomplish for the community?
I'll give you a little snippet of my personal reason for doing this. I have a 13-year-old who is in the 7th grade, and we've had several run-in with adult personnel at school who, through conversation, have not really expressed their emotions well, I'll say that. My child is very talkative. My child has ADHD, and although it's not diagnosed or labeled in his school records, from my profession and from he's in therapy and from going to his doctor, we have realized that that's what he has, ADHD. And so, but he's also a very mature young man. I'll say he has an old mama. So I had him at 30. I had him at 37, and so he's always been in the company of adults, so he's very articulate. He's able to ask questions, and he does all of this stuff. And so that became an aggravation to some adults in the school that he interacts with, and I dare not call names. But in conversation, an adult just blurted out at our parent-teacher conference that the kid is just socially awkward. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Did you not know how to keep that in your head? And you said that in front of me, the parent, in front of your superior, and also in front of my child. And so that emotion of aggravation, of disdain, if you will, for my child, that adult did not know how to properly display that. And so I've run into that a lot in his school year. Our chair of our board, Miss Alexa Scurry, shared with me her daughter is in kindergarten, and she was holding the door for the children to come in from recess, and a little girl just up and slapped her daughter. And they asked the little girl, why did you slap her? The little girl said, because she's cute. Because she's cute. And so that my example, where the adult is not able to fully express his social and his emotional learning skills, and the younger child is, I believe, is imitating what she has heard and or have seen of adults, then we said something has to be done, because children are always watching us. And
Right.
if we want to make sure that our children are well, if we want to eliminate child abuse, if we want to prevent that, if we want to stop all of the other negatives that we can think on that our children are involved in or is happening to our children, then we have to make sure that we adults, that we show them better. And that is by us being able to communicate better, by us being able to, emotions are of nature, innate things that we have, but to be able to raise awareness about being able to express those emotions well, and to do better socially when we're communicating with someone. Yes, people, we're not going to always walk around smiling. We're not going to always be happy with the situation. But when it's time to express our emotions and our feelings, we have to be better at doing that. It is an adult responsibility to make sure that our influence is a positive one that children are seeing, even when we have to show that we're angry. How do we display that? Where children will understand that you don't always have to curse someone out, or you don't always have to slap someone, or you don't always have to, talk negative about someone. And so that's where that came from. And we need all adults in the room to have this heavy conversation.
And you know what? It doesn't help the situation with social media and the television, all of the shows that you're seeing where this behavior is displayed in full magnitude.
Most definitely. It is. And I like to say that, and it's in my heart of hearts, that I believe that we say these children are off the chain. These children have no respect. They don't this, they don't that. These children are living in a world that I believe we as adults have created from generation to generation. I think there's a breakdown among respect. There's a breakdown among self-appreciation, if you will. If you don't like yourself, and there's so many social, how do you say it? There's so many things that society tell us we should be: short hair, long hair, straight hair, curly hair, fitting clothes, tight clothes, loose clothes. There's so many things that society say this is what you should be doing. Instead of saying be yourself, love yourself the way you are. And if we start mimicking that and imitating that, then our children will see that, and that will come back as a way of living or being positive about yourself.
I tell you what, this is going to be a very enlightening summit that you have created. If you don't mind, please tell us who is the summit designed for and some of the key topics or sessions that attendees can expect to experience.
Sure thing. So this is a design for all adults. We want parents, bio parents. We want kinship caregivers. We want foster parents. We want educators and school administrators, social workers, counselors, law enforcement, elected officials. We want skilled workers, any adult that you can think of, social media influencers. If that's what you do, we want you in the room so we can have this straightforward conversation on how we as adults are interacting with our children at the early stage, how that they are watching us and our influence. It helps. We focus on their safety, their attachment, their emotional modeling, and co-regulation. Then we will look at our children who are in the mid-age, if you will, from maybe 3rd to 6th grade, where our focus for them in that conversation is self-identity, the emotional awareness, the accountability, and then peer influence. How all of that, that we as adults, how we show those characteristics, then those children are watching us. And then we need to make sure that we are preparing our children to be independent. That's those adults who work with or interacting with children from 7th to 12th grade, teaching them how to, again, identify, their identity formation, decision-making skills, and long-term outcomes, that how they can make decisions, that your decision now does affect tomorrow. And so we want to express those topics to the adults so we, again, can act better so our children can be better. We have persons that are certified and licensed social workers, licensed counselors. We have invited judges. We have persons who's in county administration government, persons with the Department of Human Services. We have a retired school educational superintendent, professors, child development personnel. So we have the expertise, if you will, in the room. And our dynamic keynote speaker, Ms. Jackie Hennigan Gaston, she is a social worker and a counselor for over 50 years. And she is that elder that will be in the room that will be schooling us, if you will, on our responsibility as adults to make sure that our children are well. So we are so excited, and we want all the adults all over South Carolina and beyond, if you're listening, to attend this event.
And please tell us how people can get registered, or is there a registration requirement?
Sure. We want everyone to please register. Our registration fee is $20. We are a nonprofit organization, and this, along with this summit, you will be getting lunch. So that's pretty much what the registration fee is going to cover. And so you are getting all these other expertise from these experts at no cost. And so we want to have you to please go to our website at kindredheartssc.org. and click on our gallery and event, and you will see our information there, and the registration links will be there. We ask you to register and please join us. We also have opportunity for volunteers, anyone 18 and above. If you need volunteer hours, please let us know. That same email website is there for you. That link is right under the registration link. And then we also would love for our community to be there. If you are a nonprofit organization or any community service organization, if you have your own book, self-help books, self-help puzzles, if you're selling non-perishable food items of your craft, we invite you to come. We have vending and exhibitors opportunities as well. That's Kindred Hearts with an S, sc.org.
All right, Dr. Kimberly Janha, thank you so much for sharing your heart and your work with us today. You know, conversations like this remind us that protecting children is not just a responsibility, it is a community commitment. So I invite you, anytime that you have something going on, please get in touch, and we would love to share with our audience. It is so vitally important. Thank you so much for your time.
I'm most honored. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.